Yesterday we discussed about LCD interfacing. We saw how to initialize LCD, how to send commands and send data to LCD, and we also saw a few examples. You can also extend that particular concept to practical applications depending upon your requirement. Okay, in this class we will see how to use the interrupt feature of 8051 microcontroller. I already told you there are 4 important concepts that you have to learn as far as the peripherals are concerned in any microcontroller. The first one is, of course, the parallel port. The second one is the timer. Third one is the communication. In this case, we saw UART communication. The last of all is the interrupt feature. With this, we'll conclude 8051 microcontroller. We discussed what is parallel port operation already. We also discussed timers and counters. We saw UART communication. This is our last discussion with the 8051 microcontroller. From there onwards, we will move on to LPC2148 microcontroller. First one, what is an interrupt? How would you define an interrupt as? The definition for interrupt is an interrupt in a microprocessor or a microcontroller is an event which seeks the attention of the processor by executing a special segment of code this special segment of code, we call it as interrupt service routine or ISR. And this is facilitated by suspending the main code or main program, which the microcontroller is currently executing. So this is the technical definition for an interrupt. An interrupt is an event. That event can be either internal or it can be external, which seeks the attention of the processor. Many of you think that an interrupt is a disturbance to the processor. It is not a disturbance to the processor. Rather, an interrupt actually seeks the attention of the processor. It gains the attention of the processor, and it will make the processor to execute a special segment of code called interrupt service routine or ISR, and it does so by suspending the main program which the processor is currently executing. Whatever the current task or the current program the microcontroller or a microprocessor is doing, it will suspend it and then it will execute a special segment of code. That special segment of code is called an interrupt service routine. So this is what an interrupt is. So an interrupt is a mechanism by which an event seeks the attention of the processor. The processor is busy in doing something, and there comes an event. That event can be internal or external. that particular event seeks the attention of the processor, thereby the processor suspends whatever it is doing currently, and then it executes a special segment of code pertaining to that particular event which has caused the interrupt. Now, this is the broad definition for an interrupt. More specifically, if you get into what a microprocessor or a microcontroller exactly does during the reset process, or how a microcontroller behaves once a reset happens, once an interrupt happens, is something that you have to understand. So first definition, we saw what an interrupt is. The second one is to understand what a microcontroller or a microprocessor will do upon interrupted, or how an interrupt is handled by a microprocessor or a microcontroller. Okay. Now you all know very well a microcontroller or a microprocessor is executing a main program, void main. And within this while one loop, the microcontroller or a microprocessor is busy in executing segment of code. So this is keep on executing this segment of code. Once this line is executed, it again comes back to the beginning and then start executing the source code. So it is executing the code over and over again and again in a cyclic process. This task which a microcontroller is executing over again and again is called a background task. Background task. Background task means a microcontroller performs that particular task under normal cases. Okay. Now, how an interrupt is processed or handled by a microprocessor or a microcontroller means when the processor is executing this background task, suddenly an event happens. That event can be internal or external, anywhere. Let us say that particular event happens here. Okay, what do you mean by an event? An event can be anything which calls for the attention of the processor. It can be a signal change in a pin. It can be a timer overflow. It can be transmit of data in UART. It can be receipt of data in UART. All these things are examples of events. If any one of that event happens, and provided the interrupt is enabled, how the interrupt is processed by the microcontroller. So the moment the interrupt happens, let us say the interrupt happens here, the microcontroller, the first thing that it does is it saves the address of the next instruction. It saves the address of the next instruction to be executed. So that is the first thing. Where it will save? It will save in a specialized memory area called stack. In stack, it will save the address of the next instruction. The second thing, it will automatically jump to a separate segment of code called interrupt service routine, ISR. Void my ISR. ISR. My ISR. My ISR is a separate function, let us say. It is a separate code. It is a separate segment of code. So it has its own set of instructions. just like your main program. So the microcontroller immediately makes a jump to a specialized code called ISR, interrupt service routine, pertaining to that particular event, which has caused the interrupt. Each interrupt event will have a specific location or a specific target address from where the interrupt service routine is executed by the microcontroller. So it makes a jump to that particular target address where the interrupt service routine is located, and then it will execute it. Third thing, after completing this interrupt service routine, it returns back to the exact place where it has actually stopped the execution. Returns back to the main program. How it returns back to the main program? From taking the address, return address from the stack. In step one, you saved the return address of the next instruction in the stack. You take that address and then you return back to the main program. So these are the three important steps that will happen whenever an interrupt happens. The first thing is you save the address, return address of the next instruction in the stack, go and execute a specialized segment of code. That is the second thing. Third thing, you return back to the main program by popping out or taking the return address from the stack. So this is a pretty straightforward phenomena. Whenever an interrupt happens, the microcontroller suspends whatever it is doing, saves the address of the saves the return address or the address of the next instruction in the stack, and then jumps to a subroutine or a specialized segment of code, executes that, completes that. Once that is over, it returns back to the main program by taking the address back from the stack. So these are the three steps that a microcontroller or a microprocessor will do once it is interrupted. And that is how interrupts are processed or handled by any microcontroller. So far, are you comfortable with this? Are you able to understand whatever I am discussing here? I think this concept is pretty much similar to the interrupt concept that you have learned in 8085 microprocessor. The concept is still the same. Okay. Now, moving further, the next important thing that you have to understand is what is the use of an interrupt? Why should I have it? Anyway, the microcontroller is executing my main program. Why don't you put everything in the main program so that the microcontroller keeps executing it? Why should I have a separate segment of code? So anyway, I am going to have my main program. I have my infinite while loop. And why don't you put all the source code, the entire application here? Why don't you put it the entire application here in the while one loop so that it becomes one unique piece of code? Why should you put a separate code called ISR or interrupt service routine, and then you make the microcontroller to execute that particular code when interrupt happens, and then flow back to the main program? Why that particular process has to be done? So that is something that you have to understand very clearly. So the reason why we have to do that, the reason why we have to use an interrupt feature in an 8051 microcontroller is to uh, understand the concept very clearly. Now, kindly excuse me for a minute, please. Yes, please. Now, why don't you have everything in the single piece of code? Why should you have a separate ISR? Is what we have been discussing. The answer for that is, I'll give you a typical situation. From that, you can exactly understand what I'm trying to explain you here. Let us take the case of a microcontroller doing two tasks. One task is toggle a small light emitting diode at port 2.0 every 1 second. So every 1 second, I want this LED to go on and off. That is the first task, task 1. Second task, at port 2.7, I have a small switch. This switch is connected at port 2.7, and I have an LED connected at port 2.6. So I need to read this switch and control this load. That is a separate task. This is task 2. So this particular microcontroller has to do two tasks. Task 1 is it has to toggle an LED every 1 second. That is T1, task 1. Task 2, it has to read a switch at port 2.7 and control LED at port 2.6. Okay. Now you know how to write the code for this. The constraint here, or the condition here, is both task 1 and task 2 should not be missed. Should not be missed means the microcontroller should execute both the tasks with precision, and it should not at any cost miss any one of these two tasks. That is the condition. Now you have to tell me, if we are going to write this particular project in a single piece of source code, how are we going to write it? Okay, let us start with our discussion. Now you know very well that we have a main program, void main. Let us first write the source code for task 1. What is task 1? Toggling an LED every 1 second. So LED is equal to 1, and then I call delay for 1 second, and then I make LED equal to 0, and again I call delay for 1 second. So this 4 lines of code will form task 1, T1. Now what is task 2? For clarity, I will write task 2 in a separate segment here. If my switch takes a value of 0, takes a value of 0 means whenever the user is pressing the button, the input going to 2.7 becomes 0. So that's what 2.7 is assigned to my switch, and 2.6 I call it as my load. So I take my load is equal to 1. When user is pressing the switch, I turn the load on, else I put my load as a 0. Now this is my task 2, T2. Now the condition given here is the microcontroller has to equally execute both task 1 and task 2 without missing any one of the two. That is the condition. Now you have to tell me, where will I insert this portion of the code, or where will I put this segment of the code that the microcontroller doesn't miss it. Now, the thing is, I have already written my code for task 1 here. Task 1 is already written. This is the code for task 2, which I have to insert in the main program, because my objective here is to put everything in a single piece of code without using interrupt. I am not using any interrupt here. Now, if I am going to put it here, you can put it anywhere. You can either put this piece of code either here at the beginning, or you can put the source code at the last, or you can put the source code anywhere in the middle of the operation. So that is your choice. But it will, irrespective of wherever you are going to insert this piece of code, which is the code for task 2, do you think that this condition will be satisfied? Which condition? The microcontroller should execute both the tasks without missing any one of the two. Do you think that it will be satisfied? Certainly not, is the answer. Why? Let us, for argument case, let us say I am putting task 2 at the bottom of the line here. I am putting this box here. So this source code, the entire code, I am putting it here. So when I am putting it here, let us take a hypothetical situation. The LED turns on here, and I am entering into a delay for 1 second. When the microcontroller is executing this code of 1 second delay, at that time the user is pressing a button. Do you think the microcontroller will process that switch press by the user when the microcontroller is busy in executing this? No way, because the microcontroller will process the switch pressed by the user only when the microcontroller comes to this particular segment of the code. Otherwise, when the microcontroller is busy in executing, this is an extremely short, this is only one instruction, so this will not take that much amount of time. And this instruction will not take this much amount of time, because these two are single instructions, whereas these two are two separate functions, and more importantly, they take 1 second for completing it. So when they are taking 1 second for completing, and during the time interval when somebody is pressing the button, the microcontroller is obviously going to miss that particular event, which means the microcontroller is not going to take into consideration the key pressed by it at all, which means that particular task or task 2 is missed by the microcontroller. Okay, such a case is not at all acceptable in any real-time system. When you are designing a task, when you are designing an application, it is important that the microcontroller has to make sure that it is executing all the tasks assigned to it without giving preference or without giving import. Of course, we need to give preference to some certain tasks, but it should not happen that it is missing some of the tasks and only some of them are getting executed. In this particular case, the switch pressed is not at all is seen by the microcontroller, and it is not at all taken care of by the microcontroller. How critical it is depends upon the nature of the application, but in this case, the switch that is pressed by the user is not at all visible to the microcontroller. That is a highly dangerous situation. Now let us illustrate this particular example with a simple example, okay? With a classroom example. There is a classroom. Let us say we are meeting for an embedded system design class. Okay, this is the classroom, and we have the door for this classroom at the entrance, and we have the stage for the class, and I am standing in the stage, and you are all sitting here in the benches here. So this is the typical structure of a classroom. So you have to assume myself as the microcontroller. So I am the microcontroller. Okay. So what is my job once I enter into the classroom? My job after entering into the classroom is to deliver the lecture for this entire class. So I teach. So I enter into the void main loop. while 1 I teach. So this is my background task. This is what I do under normal cases. Okay. This is my task 1, T1. Task 2, there is also another task, irrespective of whether I like it or not. Somebody else is standing in the door waiting to pass on some information to me. Let us say somebody from the office has arrived at the door and he is waiting at the door to communicate some information to me. As a microcontroller, both the tasks are important for me. I need to deliver the class, and at the same time I should be able to access any information coming from the outside world, because it may be a very vital information. If I don't pay attention to that particular information may be lost. In this case, the switch pressed by the user is totally lost because the microcontroller is not paying attention to it. Just like that, if I don't pay any attention to this particular case, to the external person waiting for communicating some information to me, that information is totally lost. Once for all, I may not be able to retrieve it back. So this is a tricky situation for me. I have to continue taking my class. That is my priority. At the same time, I should be able to access information from the outside world also, so that that information is not lost permanently for me. So how do I solve this particular situation? This particular situation can be solved in 2 techniques. Pay some attention here. This particular tricky situation can be solved by using 2 techniques. The first technique is called polling technique. What is polling technique? I keep doing my regular task T1 and I temporarily stop executing my main program for a certain period of time and see for the availability of input from some other task on a continuous basis. Just like in your classroom example, I keep taking class continuously. Every 5 minutes or every 10 minutes, I stop the class, go out, open the door, and see whether somebody is waiting there or not. If somebody is waiting there or not, if somebody is waiting, then I'll get the information from them, come back, and then start my class. If somebody is not there, in that case also, I close the door, come back, and start the class. This is called polling. What is polling means? A microprocessor or a microcontroller suspends whatever it is doing and checking for the availability of input from an external device, irrespective of whether it is present or not. I am not very sure whether somebody is waiting there or not, because that is something which is not controlled by me. If somebody is waiting over there, well and good, I get the information. Somebody if not waiting there, it is a waste of time for me. Okay, so that is the disadvantage of polling. What is the disadvantage of polling here? There is 2 disadvantages here. One disadvantage is every 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I am wasting my class period. I am stopping task 1 every 5 minutes or 10 minutes. That is the first disadvantage, because my class is getting interrupted every 5 minutes, or interrupt probably is a misleading word here. It is getting disturbed every 5 minutes or 10 minutes. That is the first disadvantage. The second disadvantage is I am not very sure whether the external event is present or not. Sometimes it may be present, sometimes it may not be present also. In that case, I am unnecessarily wasting my time in stopping the class. So polling is not a very productive technique, which is obviously wasting the precious time of the processor. How polling is done here? This is my class. Blinking my LED on and off is my class. Okay, that is my background task 1. Here I am going in for polling. What is polling? I am checking for the availability of input. If somebody is pressing the button, I do something, else I don't do something. Okay, this particular technique has 2 disadvantages. One disadvantage is I am obviously wasting the time of my task 1 at periodic intervals of time. Every cycle I am wasting my time here. Number 2, I am not very sure of this particular condition. Sometimes this condition may be true. If it is true, I will do this. If this is not happening, then obviously I am wasting my time here instead of doing my background task or task 1. That is the disadvantage of polling. Polling is a continuous or periodic checking of an event which may or may not happen, because that is something which is not under the control of the processor. Under such circumstances, the process is basically wasting time instead of doing the background task, which is more important as far as the processor is concerned. Now let us consider the second situation. The second situation is called the interrupt technique. So what is the interrupt technique? So somebody from the office or somebody from outside, if they wanted to have some communication with me, they need not have to wait in the door. So what I put here, I put a calling bell here. I put a calling bell here. So once somebody comes here, they press the calling bell. Once they press the calling bell, I get a calling bell sound internal to the classroom. Then I know, oh, somebody is waiting there outside waiting for me. It is necessary that I go and attend to them immediately. Then only I stop whatever I am doing. Then only I stop or temporarily suspend my background task, which is taking the classroom. Go out. In this case, I am 200% sure that somebody is waiting outside because only they press the calling bell. And I go outside and I have information exchange, come back, and then I do my process here. That is the interrupt technique. In interrupt technique, the person, whenever he wanted to have some kind of an information exchange to me, he is not waiting for me to come out. Rather, he is seeking my attention by pressing a calling bell. Calling bell is a way of an external event seeking the attention of the processor. So when the calling bell rings, the processor understands that, oh, somebody is waiting there for information exchange. It is now time for me to stop whatever I am doing, and I go and meet that person and get the information. Otherwise, that information is a lost information, which I should not do. So in that case only, I stop my lecture, go out, and I have information exchange, and then come back and I do whatever I do. So are the two techniques, which one of the two techniques is more productive, do you think? Obviously, it is the interrupt technique. Why the interrupt technique is more productive with regard to polling? Because in this case, the processor is suspending the background task only when the presence of an event. Only when an event happens, only when somebody is pressing the calling bell, at that time only I stop my background task of taking lecture. Otherwise, I continue taking my class and I don't waste my precious time in looking for somebody, whether they are present or not. So an interrupt is a more effective mechanism of seeking the attention of a processor when the processor is busy in executing its background task. So that is what is the important concept that you have to understand here. Okay, now you have understood what is the difference between polling versus interrupt. I illustrate this with a classroom example again. In polling technique, the person who wanted to have communication with me is waiting outside. I am the microcontroller. My background task T1 is to take the class. So I stop T1. Every 5 minutes I go out and see whether somebody is waiting there or not. If there is somebody waiting over there, then I'll get the information and come back and stop taking the class once again. This is polling technique. How polling technique is done in a microcontroller? While one, I'll do the task 1, LED is equal to 1, delay LED equal to 0, and again call a delay. This is my background task or task 1. I am doing the polling here. What is the polling here? I am checking for the availability of the input, which is task 2. If my switch is equal to a 0, then my load is equal to 1, else my load equal to 0. Irrespective of my switch is pressed or not, I am executing this T2 every time this task 1 is completed. This is called the polling technique. What is the disadvantage of polling? The processor is wasting time here. And this particular event of my switch going to 0 is not very sure to happen. If the user is pressing the button, it may happen. If they are not pressing, it will not happen. So why to unnecessarily waste time for an event which you are not very sure of whether it may happen or it may not happen. So polling is essentially wasting the processor's time. Okay, now let us come back to the interrupt. Going back to the classroom example, here is my classroom. I am taking the class, which is task 1. Task 1 in this case is the background task of blinking the LED. And somebody is coming here. They are not waiting for me to come out. Rather, they press a calling bell here. Once they press the calling bell, I immediately get an attention here because I have the calling bell ringing. Then I stop whatever I am doing, which is delivering the lecture, go out, have information exchange, and then come back and start whatever I am doing. Now, how it is done in this case? In a microcontroller, while 1, LED is equal to 1, delay, LED equal to 0, and then I am again passing the delay. So in the main task, I am doing only task 1. I don't do polling. I only execute my background task. Because in this case, I am not going out and checking whether somebody is waiting there or not. I keep doing my class. When somebody is coming outside, when somebody is pressing the switch, when somebody is pressing the switch to the user, then only I go to a different segment of code. What the different segment of code called? Interrupt service routine, void ISR. In this ISR only I do the checking. If my switch is equal to 0, then I put my load equal to 1, else my load equal to 0. After executing the interrupt service routine, I go back and execute my main program again. Now in this case, what is the difference? I stop my interrupt service routine or suspend my main task only when there is an event. Only when somebody is pressing the calling bell, I go out. In this case, when somebody is pressing the switch only, an interrupt happens, then I go and execute this interrupt service routine. After executing the interrupt service routine, and I come back to execute my main program. This is called an interrupt approach. In interrupt approach, the main task T1 and the interrupt task T2 are separated as two separate programs or two separate code segments. In which one segment is always executed under normal case, which is called the background task. Another segment is a interrupt segment, which will get executed only when an event happens. In this case, that particular event is pressing the button. So do you understand the basic difference between a polling and an interrupt? Polling is a technique where the microprocessor or a microcontroller continuously checks for an event which may or may not present. An interrupt is a technique where a microcontroller will address a specific segment of code only when an event happens, and under normal cases it will continue to do whatever it is doing so that its precious time is saved. That is the difference between polling versus interrupt technique. I am assuming that all of you are with me. All of you are able to follow what is going on here. Okay. Right. So what should be our next topic of discussion would be, you all know very well that interrupt is more meaningful. It is more productive with regard to polling technique. So what should be my next understanding would be how to use interrupts in my microcontroller. What are the various interrupts available and how do I use them? That is the topic of next discussion. So how many interrupts are there in 8051 microcontroller? What are the possible ways in which you can seek the attention of, when I say an interrupt, it is a method of seeking microcontroller's attention. So that is the short definition for an interrupt. So what are the possible methods in 8051 in which you can seek the attention of an 8051 microcontroller? There are 6 such methods or 6 interrupts available. One is the reset. The second one is external interrupt 0. Number 3, timer 0 overflow. Number 4, external interrupt 1. Number 5, timer 1 overflow. Number 6 is UART transmit and receive. It's called serial interrupt. So these are the 6 possible interrupts in 8051 microcontroller. Okay. Of these 6, 3 of them are external in nature. What are the 3 that are external in nature? Reset, external interrupt 0, and external interrupt 1. All these 3 interrupts are external interrupts or external events. Why they are external events? Because they happen in external pins. Reset happen in pin number 9. External interrupt 0 or INT 0 happen in pin number port 3 dot. I hope you remember what is parallel port 3. Parallel port 3.0 is the receive data of UART. 3.1 is transmit data. This is pin number 10. This is pin number 11. If you remember pin number 12 and pin number 13 respectively, this is INT 0, this is INT 1. External interrupt 0 and external interrupt 1. So INT 0 happens at pin 3.2 or pin number 12. INT 1 or interrupt 1 happens at port 3.3, 3.0, 3.1, 3.2, 3.3 or pin number 13. Physical pin number 13. So reset, external interrupt 0, external interrupt 1. All these three are external interrupts. The remaining three interrupts, namely timer 0 overflow, timer 1 overflow, and serial interrupts. All the three are internal interrupts. Internal events means which happen inside the microcontroller. Okay, so these are the 6 possible interrupts of the 8051 microcontroller. 3 happening outside and 3 happening inside. What are the various events that trigger interrupts in 8051? Okay, we saw there are 6 sources, and each interrupt source, what is the exact event which will trigger the interrupt? That you have to understand. First one, let us start with interrupt reset pin. When the reset event is triggered, when the reset pin, which is pin number 9, whenever this reset pin or pin number 9 is connected to power supply, VCC, or whenever the microcontroller undergoes reset, this reset interrupt is triggered. Reset interrupt is fired. When the reset interrupt is fired, whenever pin number 9 or the reset pin is connected to power supply pin. Okay, so or in most simply, whenever reset happens, the reset interrupt is fired. The second event is external interrupt 0, INT 0. In INT 0, pin number 12, INT 0 pin. Whenever this pin falls from high to low, INT 0 is initially at Boolean 1. Whenever it is making a transition from high to low, from 1 to 0, INT 0 interrupt is fired. Are you able to understand? When the external interrupt 0 is fired, the external interrupt 0 interrupt is fired when the external pin, which is pin number 12 or INT 0 pin, undergoes a transition from 1 to 0. Similarly, external interrupt 1 is fired when pin number 13 or INT 1 pin is undergoing a transition from logic 1 to logic 0. So when this particular pin or pin number 13 is undergoing a transition from 1 to 0, then I would say external interrupt 1 interrupt is fired. Okay, these are the 3 events which will trigger these 3 interrupts. When pin number 9 is connected to power supply, reset interrupt is fired. When pin number 12 undergoes a transition from high to low, external interrupt 0 is fired. When pin number 13 or INT1 pin undergoes a transition from 1 to 0, INT1 or external interrupt 1 interrupt is fired. Now let us see the internal interrupts. Timer 0 overflow interrupt. When this interrupt is fired, when timer 0 overflows or timer overflow flag TF0 becomes equal to 1. Whenever timer overflows or overflow flag becomes 1, then timer 0 interrupt is fired. You may be asking a question. I have been using timers many number of times so far in delay programs and all. In all these cases, the timer was overflowing many number of times. Why interrupt was not fired during that cases means because we have not enabled that interrupt. We have not enabled and handled that interrupt. That is why it is not fired. Okay. There is a possibility of using timer overflow as a source of interrupt, but it doesn't mean that whenever timer overflows, it will trigger an interrupt. There is a possibility. There is a possibility means if you are willing to use it as an interrupt, you can. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to use it. That is how we have been using so far. Timer was overflowing many number of times in our regular applications. There is a possibility that such a overflow can be used as a potential interrupt source, but we haven't used it so far. If there is a requirement, we will use it. Okay, we will see what are the possibilities of using timer 0 overflows in the forthcoming sessions. Similarly, timer 1 overflow interrupt. When timer 1 overflow interrupt is fired, when timer 1 overflows or timer overflow flag 1 TF1 becomes equal to 1, timer 1 interrupt is fired. Okay, so timer 0 interrupt means whenever timer 0 overflows. When timer 0 and timer 1 overflows, it depends upon the mode that in which you set. That you have to understand very clearly. In 16-bit mode, the timer overflows after counting 65,536 counts. In auto reload mode, the timer overflows every 256 counts. In split timer mode, again it overflows every 256 counts. So it depends upon the mode in which you set the timer. Irrespective of the mode that you set, whenever the timer overflows, this particular interrupt is fired, provided if you enable the interrupt. Last but not the least is the serial interrupt. When serial interrupt is fired, whenever the microcontroller transmit the data via the transmit pin, or whenever the microcontroller successfully receive a data from the receive pin. Okay, serial interrupt can be triggered by two sources. Though it is a single interrupt, there can be two possible events. One possible event is whenever the microcontroller successfully transmits the data that I put into serial buffer. I put an 8-bit data here. When all the 8 bits are successfully transmitted out, then the serial interrupt can be fired. Or when somebody else is giving me a data, when the microcontroller is successfully receiving 8 bits of data into the serial buffer, then also the microcontroller has the possibility of firing a serial interrupt. So serial interrupt is fired under two cases. First case, when the transmit is complete, or when the receive is complete. In both the cases, the microcontroller can fire a serial interrupt. These are the possible scenarios or possible events which can fire an interrupt in an 8051 microcontroller. You have to understand this concept very clearly. When a reset interrupt is fired whenever the reset pin undergoes the reset, or when the reset pin is connected to power supply. When external interrupt 0 and external interrupt 1 is fired, when the corresponding pins that are 12 and 13 undergoes a change from high to low, that corresponding interrupt is fired. All these three interrupts are external interrupts because they happen in external pins. The rest of the three interrupts are internal interrupts because they happen within the microcontroller. Out of the three, two is the timer overflow interrupt, in which whenever timer 0 overflows or timer 1 overflows, the corresponding timer interrupt is fired. The last interrupt is the serial interrupt, wherein whenever the microcontroller is successfully transmitting a data out or successfully receiving a data in. When I say data, it is an 8-bit data. It is not a single bit. It is a complete 8-bit of information. So when the microcontroller successfully receives one full byte of data, then serial interrupt is fired. So these are the various scenarios or various circumstances which can trigger interrupts in 8051 microcontroller. Okay. So the last step or the last information that you have to learn is, in order to use an interrupt in your microcontroller, you need to do all these 4 steps. What are the 4 steps that you have to do? First one, you have to enable an interrupt. That is why the timer overflow event, which was happening many number of times in our previous classes, was not firing interrupts because we have not simply enabled them. So if you are planning to use an interrupt, it is necessary that you have to enable them first. So that is the first thing that you do. After you enable an interrupt, and if such an event happens, automatically the microcontroller will look for an interrupt service routine or an ISR. This is nothing but you are telling the microcontroller what exact operation the microcontroller has to do whenever it is interrupted. So an interrupt service routine is a way of telling the microcontroller what exact operation the microcontroller has to perform whenever it is interrupted. So that is the reason why the interrupt service routine has to be completed by the user. Enabling the interrupt and not writing the interrupt service routine is a very dangerous practice, because it is like see, you know the Aladdin Budam, right? Whenever you scratch the lamp and you allow the Budam to come out, you have to give some job for the Budam to complete. Otherwise, the Budam will eat you. The same is the situation. Either you don't allow the Budam to come out, you don't enable the interrupt. If you don't enable the interrupt, nothing is going to happen. If you enable the interrupt, if you scratch the lamp and allow the Budam to come out, make sure that you give some job to the Budam. Otherwise, the Budam will eat you. What it means here, once you enable the interrupt, make sure that you write an interrupt service routine and make the microcontroller to execute this job. Otherwise, Budam will eat you means what? The microcontroller will go and do some nonsense business and it will never come out of the main task, which means the microcontroller will never execute your code. The application will stop permanently. So that is the danger in using an interrupt. Don't enable it if you don't use it. If you enable it, make sure that you give some job for it. And the third thing is, you complete the background task or the main task, which the microcontroller will do when it is not interrupted. Which means you give the job to a microcontroller whenever it is not getting interrupted, which is the background task. What is the task that I do when I don't get interrupted? I take class. Taking class is my background task. Likewise, when you are designing an interrupt based application, you have to decide which application should be the background task and which part of the application should be interrupt driven. So the application which the microcontroller is performing under normal scenario, when it is not getting interrupted, is the background task, which we will do in the main program, which is called the background task. And finally, make sure the interrupt happens. Enabling an interrupt, writing an interrupt service routine doesn't mean that interrupt will happen. Interrupt will happen only when an event happens. Okay? What is that event means? I have given you 6 possible scenarios in which that event can happen. Reset pin going high, external interrupt pin INT0 making a transition from high to low, external interrupt pin INT1 making a transition from high to low, timer 0 overflowing, and timer 1 overflowing, and serial transmit and receive happening. Any one of these event has to happen so that the interrupt is getting fired and the interrupt service routine is getting executed. What I mean by making sure the interrupt event happens means there are occasions where amateur designers like you will do this basic mistake. What is a basic mistake? You enable an interrupt, you write an interrupt service routine, and you also write a main program, but somehow you will forget that the interrupt will never happen. What I mean by that, you make sure that the timer never overflows. For example, you forgot to time the timer run control bit to 1. When you don't start the timer is never going to run. When the timer is never going to run, it is never going to overflow. These 2 conditions are not going to happen. When the timer is not going to open, never going to overflow, even though you have enabled the interrupt and you have written the interrupt service routine, this interrupt is never going to happen because such an event is totally disabled because you simply forgot to turn the timer on. And similarly in serial interrupt, you enable the serial interrupt, you have written the interrupt service routine, but unfortunately you have not initialized the serial interrupt, which means the communication itself is not open. When the communication itself is not open, there is no way the microcontroller can transmit or receive data. And what is the point in writing the interrupt service routine for that? So these are the things that you have to be extremely cautious about. Okay. You imagine the interrupt service routine and the process of interrupt just like the Aladdin lamp. Okay. An interrupt is more powerful. An interrupt is very powerful, like the Budam inside the lamp. That is concept number 1. Enabling the interrupt means making the Budam to come out. Okay. Writing the interrupt service routine means giving some job to the Budam. Last but not the least, make sure that the event happens. What I mean by that, I have to scratch the lamp for the Budam to come out. If I don't scratch the lamp, the Budam is never going to come out, and whatever the plan that you have or the job that you are planning to give it to the Budam is never going to get executed. So this is the concept that you have to understand. So I stop here. In the next class, we will see how to enable the interrupt, how to write an interrupt service routine, and making sure such an event happens. Okay, so this is the point where I stop.